At 3:47 a.m., the night fractured. One strike cut through the darkness and reshaped everything that followed. A lone drone slipped over Bryansk, descending toward a hardened hangar where missile units were midway through reload procedures. There was no warning flare, no siren, just impact. The warhead struck with surgical force, breaching reinforced steel and concrete in a single motion. Less than 5 seconds later, the structure detonated from within. Fire burst outward as internal systems failed. Across the region, sensors recorded an extreme thermal surge, spiking beyond 2,500 degrees Celsius. In moments, a facility worth hundreds of millions dissolved into uncontrolled combustion. This was not an accident. It was the opening maneuver. That single hit set off a cascading sequence that unfolded across 5 regions in under 40 minutes, dismantling a missile architecture designed to dominate an entire operational front. No buildup, no warning. Only timing, coordination, and defenses pushed past their breaking point. So pause for a moment and consider this. When one precisely timed explosion can unravel an entire strategy, what truly defines modern warfare? Raw firepower, or the moment it's applied? 3:47 a.m. The attack began instantly and without hesitation. Above Bryansk, air defense radars suddenly populated with nearly 60 low-altitude contacts, appearing almost simultaneously. They approached from multiple vectors, flying terrain-hugging profiles between 38 and 52 meters, closing inside a 12-kilometer engagement zone. To Russian operators, the interpretation was obvious. Saturation. A Pantsir S-1 battery shifted into combat mode in seconds. Launch authorization followed almost immediately. Interceptor missiles lifted off in rapid sequence, each costing roughly $140,000 to $160,000. Within the first minute and a half, over 20 launches were logged. Radar screens showed confirmed intercepts. Targets vanished. Ammunition counters ticked downward. The defense believed it had seized control. But those initial contacts were Corvo decoys, lightweight drones under 6 kilograms, engineered to mimic the radar signatures of much larger cruise missiles. Their purpose wasn't survival, it was consumption, attention, time, and interceptors, and they performed exactly as intended. Beneath the chaos, nearly 20 stealth strike drones were already inside the perimeter. Flying at 140 to 160 kilometers per hour, they moved quietly, synchronized, waiting for sensor overload. At 3:49 a.m., one drone committed. It tipped into a shallow dive and slammed into Hangar 3, a reinforced shelter housing Iskander M launchers undergoing reload and inspection. The warhead, a focused shape charge, cut cleanly through layered defenses. Inside, solid rocket fuel ignited. Stored warheads reacted sequentially. Internal pressure exceeded structural limits in under 4 seconds. Temperatures surged past 2,600 to 2,800 degrees Celsius before monitoring systems failed. When the fireball collapsed, 2 Iskander launchers were destroyed outright. A third was critically damaged. Nearby transloader vehicles lost hydraulic integrity, their systems shredded. The site was finished. Russian air defenses had intercepted dozens of targets, but the decisive strike had already landed. Bryansk went dark, and the chain reaction moved on. 03:49 a.m. As smoke still rose, Russian commanders escalated. Electronic warfare systems surged to maximum output, carving a 50-kilometer GPS denial zone around the depot. Satellite navigation collapsed. Signal noise increased by over 40% in just over a minute. The logic was simple. Blind guidance stopped the drones. Another wave appeared. 20-plus contacts, slower, more deliberate. Operators hesitated, then they engaged. Once again, most targets were expendable. Decoys absorbed fire while the real threat approached from a different angle. A dozen Bober strike drones slipped through at low altitude, navigating without satellites, following optical reference points deployed hours earlier. They didn't search for their location, they already had it. 7 Iskander launchers were mid-reload. Transloader arms extended, hydraulic systems pressurized beyond 5,500 psi. For roughly 90 seconds, the site was exposed. One drone targeted the machinery, not the missile. Impact severed a primary hydraulic assembly. Pressurized fluid atomized instantly. Heat followed. Solid propellant ignited. Within moments, the reload zone became a sealed furnace exceeding 3,000 degrees Celsius. 2 launchers were rendered unusable. A third was heavily damaged. 4 transloader vehicles were destroyed. Missile throughput collapsed to near zero. Pause here. If you were watching 2 missile hubs fail in under 5 minutes, what would you change first? Your radar settings, your tactics, or your assumptions? Russian crews believed they had adapted. Interceptors shifted to optical tracking. Manual engagement replaced automation. Confidence began to return. But while one sector stabilized, something far larger was already unfolding. The next strike wouldn't probe defenses. It would drown them. 3:55 a.m., Rostov. The city didn't wake to alarms. It woke to impact. A detonation tore through the western edge of a logistics complex. 2 more followed within 11 seconds. Hangar 7 collapsed before air defense crews completed their initial tracking cycle. Blast overpressure rolled outward nearly 180 meters, ripping doors free and crushing internal frames. Within 90 seconds, secondary fires ignited fuel storage and service bays, feeding a burn that would last over 25 minutes. Only after the damage was irreversible did the full air picture register. From 3 axes, nearly 80 aerial objects entered Rostov's engagement envelope simultaneously. Over half were decoys, lightweight platforms programmed to maneuver erratically and spike radar workload. Pantsir systems, capable of tracking roughly 24 targets and engaging only 4 at a time, were saturated in seconds. Interceptor launches escalated. Autocannons followed, dumping thousands of rounds per minute. Radar logic degraded under clutter and false confirmations. That environment created the opening. Below the chaos, 30 Bober drones moved in low, coordinated but adaptive, adjusting routes as defensive sectors overloaded. The first group struck fuel storage, blowing hangar doors completely free. The second wave followed. More than 20 drones entered the exposed structure, striking equipment bays and staging lanes. Inside, Iskander M launchers sat nose to tail, surrounded by loaders and missile racks. Solid propellant ignited almost immediately. Warheads reacted unevenly, creating a sustained internal chain reaction. Temperatures exceeded 2,900 degrees Celsius before sensors failed. Structural collapse followed. By 4:22 a.m., Rostov's missile handling capacity had dropped by over 70%. The defenses hadn't been bypassed. They had been overwhelmed. And as fires burned, attention shifted south. 4:02 a.m., Krasnodar. This node chose power. Electronic warfare surged beyond normal thresholds, flooding the spectrum with noise. Signal density spiked by over 60%, creating an electronic fog extending 55 kilometers. Radar performance collapsed. Filters failed. In trying to blind the sky, the system blinded itself. From the edge of the jamming field, carbon composite stealth drones entered quietly. Their radar cross-section measured fractions below 0.01 square meters. They didn't fight the interference. They followed it. Using passive homing, the drones rode jamming emissions straight to their source. Inside the staging area, Iskander launchers prepared for deployment under blackout conditions. Communications were degraded. Coordination collapsed. The first drone struck a cooling assembly. Others followed, hitting power units and control vehicles in tight sequence. Hydraulic reservoirs ignited. Solid propellant followed. Temperatures surged past 3,100 degrees Celsius. When the fire subsided, missile preparation at Krasnodar had ceased entirely. Only one node remained. 4:12 a.m., Crimea. Crimea didn't panic. It prepared. For years, the peninsula had been treated as an untouchable fortress. Layered S-400 and Tor M2 systems, overlapping radar coverage, no gaps on paper. The opening came from the air. A single F-16 approached low, masked by terrain. It wasn't hunting targets. It was hunting sensors. Electronic attack pods flooded multiple radar bands. Detection ranges collapsed by nearly 40%. Then the missiles followed. A GM-88 HARMS accelerated past Mach 2, homing on active emitters. Crews faced a choice: stay online and be targeted, or shut down and go blind. Most shut down. Decoy drones surged forward, short-range defenses engaged, ammunition expenditure spiked. For 90 seconds, Crimea's layered defense fragmented, and from beyond the horizon, Neptune cruise missiles rose. Skimming the Black Sea at wave height, they closed fast. By the time defenses reacted, it was too late. Multiple missiles struck Hangar 12 in rapid sequence. Inside, fully loaded Iskander launchers reacted instantly. Pressure spiked. Temperatures exceeded 3,200 degrees Celsius. The roof collapsed inward. By 04:27 a.m., Crimea's primary missile node had gone silent. In under 40 minutes, a system built to dominate an entire region lost its center of gravity. This wasn't overwhelming firepower. It was timing, deception, and systemic failure. The critical loss wasn't what burned, but what could no longer be replaced quickly. Logistics fractured, repair timelines stretched into months. A weapon once called untouchable became finite. So consider this. In modern warfare, is dominance measured by how much you can fire or by how fast your opponent can no longer recover?